All right, so now we're going to talk about limiters. We have to move a bunch of stuff out of the way because a lot of safeties are in place that are going to prevent us from making power, since we're obviously going beyond the stock model. One of the limiters is actually not used in stock form, but we're going to configure for safety on track and in cold temperatures, and there's going to be a few things I do that deviate slightly from the guide. We're going to start out by saving our file, as always. Save bin as, limiters, save it. All right, so one of the first things we have, and all of these you can find by using Control F, and you can search for whatever it is you need. Compressor, outlet temp for starting torque management right there. I already have everything pre-opened just because it's a lot of stuff to go over, but you can find all of this stuff by searching as long as you have the right definition file, the right XDF. So on my 19 GTI, this compressor outlet temperature to start torque management. This is the temperature in Celsius where high air temperatures out of the turbo might start stepping in. So we're going to just push this out of the way to about 300 and save it. Then we're going to do the same thing for maximum torque management. So 300 and hit enter and then save it. Then there's a turbocharger speed. This is the turbine speed in RPMs. It's all a modeled value, and I have an IS38 on my car, so this entire model is pretty much been thrown out the window. What we can do, we'll click on XDF, and we'll view and edit the XDF parameter info, or F2, and we can see, okay, so the high range for this table is 39,999, whenever it closes. 220,000 is typically plenty to get it out of the way. We'll just do 250,000, enter and save. And we will make sure that that saved. So yeah, 250,000 is good. 250,000 and save. And it's always a good idea to open some of these up and make sure that whatever you saved actually took. We'll show you why very shortly. Now this table here, this overpressure upstream throttle threshold for turbocharger overpressure diagnosis. There's a warning about this in the guide. You set it to 2700, no higher than that. If it's already higher than that, then leave it as is. The reason for this is apparently there's some kind of silly error with TunerPro where it basically breaks the definition file and it saves it as something that's not legible or not possible, and you have to go back to an older saved version. So anyways, we set that to 2700, hit enter and save. We opened it back up, verified it's good, so we're good to go. Maximum indicated engine torque. This is basically the max that it can see and make sense of, otherwise it will set a code of some kind. We're going to do 1,000 all the way across and save. And we're good there. Maximum air pressure quotient. Let me find my notes. We're going to set this whole table to 3,000 to move it out of the way. That's 3,000 in hectopascals, HPA. Save. Good to go. All right, let's see here. This maximum requested intake manifold pressure, we're going to do 350,000 and double check that. Where is it? All right, so we're good. Wait, did that not save? Let's see here. Maximum intake manifold pressure, we want to do 350,000. Enter, and then save. Okay. Yeah, that's what happened. If you just save without hitting enter first, oops. That was the error that I made. And that's why it's always a good idea to double check stuff, because if it doesn't save, you're going to have some problems. All right. Now, this table here is very weird. There's an error with the way that the definition file is made. We're going to play with this once and never touch it again, just like the guide says. Because if you set this to 2,000, hit enter. I'm going to hit save. If we open it back up again, it's set to like 200 million or 20 million or whatever the hell that is. And that's out of bounds for this parameter. So we're going to put 0.002, enter, and save, and then open it back up again, and we're good to go. So that's set to 2000. We're all right. All right, now maximum intake air, this table here, we are going to just set this to 2000 all the way across. There are two of these tables, I believe, yeah, because one of these is for high valve lift, one of them is for low valve lift. So we're going to go ahead and save both of those. And if you actually mouse over them, you can see like the one is for standard valve lift and the other is for valve lift 1. Valve lift 1 is at lower RPMs. Valve lift standard or 0 is at higher RPMs. Anyways, moving on. This max allowed indicated torque at full load for torque limitation table. Mine from the factory is already set to, over 1,000. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and we'll pull up a stock Golf R bin real quick. You can see like the factory Golf R bin for the A05 is actually not. So if I had a Golf R bin that I was starting with, I would be setting it to 1,000 all the way across here. So I don't need to touch that. We're good there. I have the same deal with this one. So I don't even need to touch that from my particular case. All right, so torque limitation for turbo overheating prevention. Again, we have a different turbo going on the car. It's already on the car. So we can set this to like 800 all the way across, I believe. Let's actually look up what the max of this table is. All right, so the max of the high range is 1,000. I do have a catalyst on my car. It's not a factory cat, so whatever. We'll just put 800. I think that's always been out of the way enough for me. So we'll save that. Temperature to activate the catalyst overheating temperature. Let's see here. We'll set this one to 1700. Enter. XDF. Make sure, yeah, we're in bounds of that one, so that's good. All right, so we can save that. We're going to set this one to the exact same thing. More catalyst overheating stuff. If you have the factory catalyst, you might want to put that at least some kind of a reasonable value, like maybe, I don't know, what was the stock one, like 940, maybe like 1200, 1300 or so. Just, I guess, if you care about your cat. Otherwise, it could be an excuse to get a new one. So there's always that. There are also, I'll go ahead and mention now, there are some additional tables that are mentioned in the guide if you happen to be on V30 or LB6 file structures. I don't know anything about those, so refer to the guide. We're pretty much just going through the stuff that's necessary on my A05 file for my 2019 GTI. All right, the set point for turbine temperature overheating prevention. We're looking at Golf R bins right now. Compare GTI, because yeah, that's a stock one. So we'll just set this to something out of the way. So we'll do 1700 for this one as well. And save. Same thing with this one. I believe that these are actually, if I recall correctly, they're not mentioned in the guide. I ended up not necessarily finding them. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's in the definition file when I was poking around, but it's just another thing that you might have to push out of the way. It is those two turbine temperatures. Again, there's two of them for different, what I believe is different valve lifts. All right, so another limiter that isn't mentioned in the guide is static engine speed limits. Basically, if you want to bump your red line, you can do that here. Now, if you have a DSG, you're going to also have to do things inside of the DSG tune or make sure that your tuner that has doing your DSG file has changed that. But the engine side is going to have to be higher than your DSG tune. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bump these three tables up to, let's say, 7,200, just to get a little bit more headroom. I'm not necessarily revving it out that high, but for like autocross purposes and stuff, or like awkward corners, having a little bit more RPM is kind of nice to avoid a shift, even with a DSG. All right, so we have all of those saved. The static engine speed limits, yeah, 7,200. All right, now we already edited the speed limits before. We did that in an earlier video, just kind of getting our feet wet with TunerPro. So these tables have already been bumped from 200 up to 300 kilometers per hour. That's like 186 miles an hour. So that's well faster than what my GTI will ever be going. So I'm going to just leave those at 300. That's perfectly fine. Now this table here is one that I really like to play around with. It's not actually used in stock form and you don't have to touch it, but the basically you can set a engine RPM limit based on oil temperatures. So you can manipulate this axis. So what I'm going to set it at -10. Let's do 72 Celsius, 132, and 140. And I'm going to set the RPM, the red line, to 4,000. Let's do 7,500, 7,500, and let's do 5,000. All right, so this is essentially, let me save this and then we'll open it back up so I can actually see the thing. So by doing this, let me open up the table graph. So this is essentially, you have a variable rev limit, so based on oil temperature. So at -10 degrees Celsius, which is, I think it's like 15 or so degrees Fahrenheit. Basically, when the engine oil is cool, I have it set so that I don't get the full, red line capabilities until about 160 degree oil temps. It's still a little cool, but it's at least warm enough to not do horrible, horrible things. And then I have it set so that once I start hitting about 270, I think it's like 270 or 275 degree oil temps roughly, what happens is the rev limit starts dropping sharply as it approaches, any higher than that. I think it's like 285 or so is where this is set, whatever 140 Celsius is. I'm getting about 5,000 RPM rev limit, and then it stays flat there beyond that. It's something that's neat to have, if especially like if you have somebody else driving your car. So just another example of really cool stuff you can do with the ECU on these cars.